Originally built in 1939, Old Tucson is a renowned film set and family theme park located just outside of Tucson, Arizona. Old Tucson is nestled between Saguaro National Park and Tucson Mountain Park, and this beautiful desert setting has been the filming location for hundreds of classic Western films and TV shows. The studio opened its doors as a theme park in 1960 and continues to welcome guests for a variety of immersive and theatrical experiences, special events, and tours. Stay with us, listen what they've got going on, and then schedule your visit to White Stallion Ranch at Old Tucson. Well, good morning, Russell. It's still, I wish the weather here would make up its mind. We've got some days where they're in their 90s and some days that are in their 60s. I'm kind of is somewhere in between. I don't want to have to wear long sleeves, but some days I feel like I have to. What about you?
I'm just happy to have it cooled down a little. And I don't like cold. I literally, my favorite month here is May, because the nights are dependable and it's a little warm, but I can do that. It's when it gets cold and when I'm layered up 3 or 4 deep and I can't move my arms because I got so much, and most people are going, what are you talking? It's interesting. People from the Midwest and the East who live in cities, who live in this cold weather, they don't tolerate it much better than me. But you see these guys that I hang out with, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, it'll be 45 degrees in there in shorts and a loose Hawaiian shirt, and they think it's lovely. Those guys, both men and women, they like they do the cold like pros.
Well, what is your definition of cold?
60s.
60 degrees, okay.
60s getting chilly. So anyway, today we have the general manager, kind of a rookie, he says. We'll see what that means. Old Tucson Studios. As a person who grew up here, I have all these incredibly fond memories of the occasional time I could beat my parents down to where they would let me go to Old Tucson. I love going to Old Tucson. And the Desert Museum, along with Colossal Cave. They were kind of the 3 big attractions in Tucson in the 60s, 70s. Loved all 3 of them, still do. Old Tucson's had some trying times. Al Harper of the Durango Silverton Railroad bought it fairly recently, took over the lease with the county, and everybody's really excited about that. So, Tony, we're really happy to have. We talked to Al a few months ago, and that was a lot of fun. I've been on his railroad a few times up there. But he did it for the right reasons, right?
Yeah. When I was hired about a year and a half ago, brought in, and just my background is amusement parks. I've spent the last 32 years in the amusement park industry. And when I spoke with Al and John about coming in, they told me the reasons why they got involved in this venture, and it was very exciting to me, just for the history and the classic nature of the park and the connection to the community here, and so it was exciting. And Al has been very supportive in the property and what we're doing. So yeah, it's been great. He's really just said, let's make this the classic Tucson attraction for everyone, and for the new folks who are new to Tucson, like myself.
Well, my wife and I moved to Tucson plus or minus 3.5 years ago, and she's been to the Desert Museum. She loves the Desert Museum. We've not either one of us been to Colossal Cave, and she's been beating me over the head to go to Old Tucson. And I was in trouble this morning because I'm doing this with you, and she still hasn't been to Old Tucson, and she made me promise her. So I'm gonna ask you to maybe give us a tour of Old Tucson. I think I can be relied upon that. But I talk to people who have lived here their entire lives, and it's like Russell said, it's an institution. It's like the White Stallion is. Yes. It's just an institution of what goes on in Tucson.
Yeah, exactly. From the moment I got here, people just wanted to connect, and they wanted to talk about Old Tucson, and I could just see this passion that everyone had or still has for the property, and when they were young and visited, they brought their families now, and it's such a great feeling to be a part of that. And I think we've got a robust future ahead, but by using and utilizing such rich history of the past. So
well, it's an interesting place, because from the outside, sort of looking in, it's viewed by a lot of those people that you talk about. When the Diamond Ventures left the lease, and it was really unclear what the county was going to do, and they had a huge collection of infrastructure with a lot of deferred maintenance, and the movie industry was not coming to Tucson or Arizona in general, and the attendance had fallen, the events had declined, and so it was a huge endeavor that was looking for a job, and somebody up to the task. I mean, if you look at it, people would say, well, what do you think? That's a big task. And it started, I think people are so enthralled with it because it was built in 39 for the movie Arizona. We have common history with that. Part of a little bit of the movie was shot here, stampede scene and cattle coming over Movie Pass. There's a great photo at the Marana Stockyards. I don't even have the photo. I have a copy of it now, but it was a photo from the movie. But it was built for that movie. William Holden, Gene Arthur's huge movie at the time, Arizona. And then it sat for a while, and then Bob Shelton, he was a great friend of my dad's. He was a great friend of lots of people in Tucson. Huge figure, Bob Shelton. And he created the theme park aspect and got it back up and running, and then this long string of TV and movies came.
Sure.
Have I gotten that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Bob's contributions to bringing this, once the number 2 attraction in the state of Arizona, right behind the Grand Canyon.
Really?
Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. At one point, it was the number 2, and it plays into both the attraction side and the movie side, and just the history and the connections all around the region too. I mean, Mescal and here and everywhere. So, but Bob really he had a vision, and he brought that forward, and I think that's a true path to combining that family experience with the movies. And people would come out and they'd be watching the movies as they were being shot, and it's a little different these days. The movie companies are a little bit stricter, but we try to continue that. We've had a string of movies in the last year or so, some well-known, some smaller projects. We even had the Jersey Shore out shooting an episode recently. So, but
Jersey, they reached out to us, the Jersey
Did they?
Shore,
Okay, yeah.
And then they didn't do it.
You haven't had the Real Housewives yet, though.
No, not the.
Because I know Russell wants Real Housewives here, because he needs that dose of drama in his life.
I say yes to almost everything. And I said no to. We had 2 different those, what do you call them?
Real Housewives.
2 of them, and they couldn't get anybody in Tucson to take them.
Oh wow!
I mean, I don't know if they ever came, because
Really?
the lead kept coming through, and then somebody called us and said, "Couldn't you really do this?" And I said, "No, I really don't think I could, or we could. We're just not up for that." And we've done 14 reality shows, so it's not like we're too good for it.
You did a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition here, as I recall.
2007. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. We just had a World Children's Choir recently, and they have like 90-something million views on YouTube.
No
and online.
kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they came out, and we actually just worked with them very closely. We said, we'll give you a great deal, and they shot a music video out recently, and we're open to student films and school projects and then big pictures. If someone wants to come in and do a full 2 months of production, we're ready to do that. We hope that happens in the summer mostly now because we're trying to build that attraction base again, really. And it's funny you said that people I always get the same thing. You know, people always tell me, "Oh, we love Old Tucson. I have such great memories." And I always ask, "When's the last time you were there?"
Yeah.
And most of them say, "Oh, 10, 15 years ago." And it's a cycle. Families come, and then their kids get older, and then they come back when they have grandkids. But what we've decided to do is slowly step back into being more that attraction base.
Mm-hmm.
So we're building our calendar slowly each year to get more and more days of operation. Right now we're really event focused, but we still have daily tours, those historical tours, and folks can come out. They can go through the park, listen to historians talk about the movies and the history of the park and the connections to the Tucson in general. And so, we're just trying to build back that. The movies are still a little slow. The strikes, they really affected us, I would say, but we get a ton of inquiries still. So,
okay, well that's a good thing,
yes.
right?
And I mean, not just local. We're getting. We had a group from Spain the other day, and they came through and walked through and viewed and said, "Oh, we're going to probably be back in touch. We've got some movies that we want to shoot and shoot together."
So what have you said you've shot a few in the last year. What might someone look for or know of?
The most recently one that is out was called Among Wolves with Trace Atkins. So that was a recent film that I was flipping through on streaming the other day, and I saw it. I was like, hey, I can actually watch this movie now.
I like it.
It was great.
So it's out.
It's out. Yeah.
Among Wolves.
Among Wolves. Yeah. So we've got some more projects. We had some, like I said, we even had a Chinese rapper who came over from China who was a cowboy rapper. And shot a video.
Chinese cowboy rapper.
Yeah.
Wow, you can do that, Russell.
Actually, no.
He showed up with a chicken. They were like, "We want this chicken
with
in the
a
video."
chicken?
And we were like, "Okay, the chicken be in the video. That's fine." And then at the end of the shoot, they were like, "What do we do with this chicken?" We're like, "Well, we'll take the chicken, I guess." So we have a chicken now from that video. But
I love it.
It's a weird
We've got
story,
a petting zoo right here in White Stallion.
We brought back our petting zoo, full petting zoo. We built a brand new one, actually. We got pigs, and we got 2 cows that live on property now. We have a series of goats and some sheep and chickens and ducks, and we even got a little pot-bellied pig running around now. So
Cool.
Well, go ahead, Russell.
Well, people can really love that stuff. That chicken may be a star.
Yeah.
We did Lainey Wilson's Wildflowers and Wild Horses music video, and my wife's horse Merlin was the horse, and a guest asked Wednesday, a few days ago, could she get on it and have her picture taken. So Lainey's kind of a big deal with a lot of people. So, all you need is that cowboy Chinese rapper.
Well, okay.
And that chicken will be a star.
I just have to tell you, Laney's kind of a big deal in the NFL, in NASCAR, in baseball.
Is that right?
Every time I turn around, I'm seeing something with Laney Wilson.
Okay.
Is that right?
It's
I've sworn off sports.
It's remarkable. It's just remarkable. Okay, now, I want to get back to your movies here in just a minute, but the first question I want to ask you said you become pretty event-driven. Now, we just recently wrapped up the month of October, and you just got done with all your Halloween stuff. The question I want to know, is there any validity to the idea that there are areas at Old Tucson that may be haunted?
Oh, well, I can say 100%. I have experienced things that...
Have you?
Have you seriously?
Yes. We actually recently put out a video just online of a filming of an area on the Grand Palace where there's all these footsteps. It's early in the morning, no one's there, and then lights come on and lights go off, and yeah, it's quite interesting. I would say that place is can give you some spooky feelings, and we actually have ghost tours now. So we started doing ghost tours last year where we bring in a group, probably no more than about 30 people at a time at max. But you come in, we give half the group lanterns. Pretty much all the lights are off throughout the park, and the ghost tour guide takes you through the park, takes you to different areas and locations, and lets you experience. If you want to bring your own equipment to, work the paranormal side, you can do that. The first night we did it, we had a group come out, and it was off the charts for them, and there was
Really?
They just said they loved it, and there was all these weird experiences they got.
They have those detector things.
Yeah, they brought it with them, and so I was not there that night, but the group who was, they just always had such a good experience. And then, so our guests have just been saying each time they've gone on a tour, they're having a really good time. So
it's funny when I remember when if you had something that was haunted, that was a negative, and you sort of suppressed the information. And now people will call us up and say, Russell, is there anything haunted here at the ranch? Because that's a really good. That's a good story to tell.
Oh, yeah.
We don't. There's we don't. So anyway, it's funny how things cycle, right? Because now, you want to invite some ghosts in, just to get some play. I mean, people love this stuff.
Absolutely, they do. They go out of their way for it.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the list. I mean, I know a lot of them. There's a lot of other movies that are bigger than this. Gunfight at the OK Corral in 57, Rio Bravo in 59. John Wayne movie, of course, one of his best, I think they rated. Little House on the Prairie in the 70s and 80s was there a lot. Three Amigos, which was, I think, mostly all shot there. The big bulk.
Some scenes were shot. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then a bit of Tombstone '93,
Yep.
and that's funny because we had them scout us, and we had friends that were in the movie that Tombstone, which is now considered one of the best modern westerns ever.
That's great, yeah.
And they have nothing but trouble. 3 directors and this and that.
A lot of stories.
They had all kinds of problems, and yet they turned out the movie that they got. So you never know.
So definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, well, we're in Tombstone with the Dude Ranch, so we like that movie.
Yeah.
And anyway, we need to take a break, and we'll stop right here.
The holidays are right around the corner. If you're still wondering what to do with either you and your spouse or your entire family, look to the Dude Ranch Association at duderanch.org. Many of our ranches have small stays, even long stays, that might fit perfectly into your timeline and budget. Be sure to visit duderanch.org. We've got ideas, we've got vetted ranches, and you're going to have the time of your life. Okay, now, I know the number of movies that have been shot at Old Tucson is really long. I was amazed at The Right Stuff, a movie about, space exploration, which a lot of that was shot at Old Tucson. Give me another one that most people would not associate with Old Tucson.
I mentioned Cannonball Run 2.
Cannonball Run
2, yeah.
The old Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields.
Yeah. Well, it was, I didn't even know this when I first got here, and then we were going through and pulling out movie posters to redecorate an area and get it set up, and right there, Cannonball Run 2. So it's an interesting collage of movies, over 510, 15 now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's not just one genre that gets shot there.
Yeah. And we continue to see, I mean, a lot of movies nowadays are what they call Western adjacent, so our TV shows, you think about Yellowstone and some of those projects, we feel like we're going to get those coming up too. So, and then videos, music videos and commercials. And so, yeah, it's a huge variety of options that people want to film.
So when I was younger, probably in my 20s or 30s, we had some guests wanted to go. We sometimes, I'm not sure the special circumstances may have been specifically a request, or maybe we took a tour, but I took a van of guests over to Old Tucson, and so these 2 couples, and I kind of knew them pretty well, and they were older than me, and the 2 men liked to torture their wives. It was kind of what got them up in the morning, and so I'm trying to think who it was, but my point of the story is they had tourists. It was open to the public, but they were shooting this movie. And he was a doctor on a TV show. And I can't think of his name, the actor. But he was a heartthrob kind of guy. And these women, these 2 wives, were desperate to see this guy. So they are running all around Old Tucson trying to catch a glimpse of wherever the heck he was filming. So their husbands run into me because I'm not shepherding them around. I was the driver.
Sure.
So they find me and they go, "Hey, Russell, we got our Old Tucson tickets here. Sign it with his name." And God, I can't think of his name, but and I said, "Well, why were we doing that?" And they said, "Well, we're going to tell him we ran into him, and if only you'd been with us, you'd have met him."
I like it.
And I said, "Oh, I just don't really want to do that." And they said, "Oh no, you're doing it." So I signed this actor's name, and off they ran to torture their wives. So I'm kind of getting the gist that you can't do that anymore. You can't film a movie and open the place to the public.
We can. What we've done is we've decided to like segment the park. So if they're filming in a certain area, we'll continue our tours every day. But what we'll do is we'll watch those from a distance now. And we these days we cannot. There's so many devices and ways to record and film just on your phone.
I never thought of that. You're right.
And
exactly.
so we have to kind of watch that and monitor that. It's just because the movies are very, tight-lipped until those are ready to be announced or rolled out or whatever. So we kind of have to keep that a little bit less. But there is a chance you might be out on a tour and you'll see some kind of production happening. So
That's interesting. I mean, I remember back in the 80s and 90s when you go see a concert, there were signs everywhere that said absolutely no video recording of a concert. Now everyone records the video concert instead of watching the concert. Then they get to go home and watch it on video.
I mean, people are their own film studios now on their phones. I mean, it's crazy, but we're happy to continue that. We just have to be a little bit more strict about the recording process and when they can take film
and
pictures
thought
and
of
things
that.
like
And
that.
you're right. I mean, no one. I'm not one who does that, but so many people sort of take themselves out of the experience by this need to film it.
Yes.
I watch it all the time. I watch it here and I go, but you're not doing this because you're too busy filming it.
Yes.
And I get the memory thing. That's part of what we're doing. So I get both sides. Anyway. Different topic. The fire came through when in
95. And unfortunately, that did take out a lot of the historical sets, the soundstage. Yeah, soundstage. And I think Bob Shelton and that process that they had built up to when they came back in, there was a lot more emphasis on the attraction side and building up a new restaurant and locations and things for the attraction side, which really, in the 90s, I grew up in the theme park industry in the 90s. That's when I started, and that was the emphasis was that guest experience, the rides, the attractions, the restaurants. So we're still trying to combine that, but we are in the process currently of designing to rebuild a whole separate town, a new set on the property. So filmmaker comes in, they want to ride into this town and ride out of that one and ride into this one. So we want to give them that option of multiple sets and locations. So it might be a lot more of just facades or movable sets, but we're in the process of doing that right now. So.
Okay. Now you also, I read that you have a full-size locomotive there.
No, we don't anymore.
Oh, you don't?
No, the Reno that was there for many years was moved away. We have a scale model railroad for the attraction side.
Okay.
We are in the process of looking at bringing in another full size in the future.
If anybody could do it, Mr. Harper can, right?
Yeah, the railroad business is their first passion, so they've
sort
got
of
connections
leaders in the tourist railroad business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that Reno ended up in a railroad museum, right?
Yes. I can't even think where exactly.
It's in the east, isn't it?
Yes. And we still get people who show up who are like, "Oh, we want to go take a picture with the Reno."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that anymore.
And that happened prior to your arrival.
Yes.
So that's,
Yeah.
don't write Mr. Harper. He didn't do it.
No.
It was done before he came.
We definitely would have kept that on our part.
Of course. So Nightfall just ended, right?
Correct. Nightfall just ended. We Wednesday the 30th. We actually ran through the 30th. That was our last night of operation.
And
Very
is it still
successful
huge?
event.
I mean, still the
yeah.
mega deal over there?
It's our busiest time, really.
Really?
For the short time that we operate, we're really busy during that time. We have a lot of stuff going on. We have multiple haunted houses and scare zones, and we have all the attractions. So it's really a busy time for the park. But what we're gearing up for is Christmas now. So we're excited.
And what are you doing for that?
So we introduced an event in 2022 that's called Yuletide, and it's a full Christmas immersive experience event. And then the premise is that when you come to Old Tucson, you're not coming to Old Tucson, you're coming to the West Pole. It's the home of the Clauses.
I like that.
Yeah, and you come and really the way we say is that if it wasn't for the Clauses creating those special magical bells that go on the sleigh, Santa couldn't fly. And he got those special bells from the West Pole. So we produce the West Pole at the West Pole. We produce those special magical bells and lots of other things to help Santa. So Santa comes in and visits with us before he goes out and does his magic. So.
Well, you look at me, it's hard to believe. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and Christmas 2 years ago, we took her on the Polar Express on the Grand Canyon Railroad, and I think Mr. Harper is
exactly. We have that as a part of American Heritage, which is the company that Al has, is American Heritage Railways. So that's kind of our parent company. They run tourist attractions, train tourist attractions all around the country. We just actually added the Branson Scenic Railway to the company as well. Okay. But they also have a company called Rail Events. And those Rail Event productions that you did for Polar Express all filter through the Rail Event Productions company. So we're connected to 92 locations around the world when it comes to Polar Express. And they just announced from the Rail Event side, we are going to be introducing Harry Potter train adventures
coming
sense. Up.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's coming soon, and unfortunately we won't have that here at Old Tucson. But for any of those similar experiences like the Polar Express, you're going to ride that train, you're going to experience the Harry Potter experience through it as well. So.
Now, you've used the term theme park in conjunction with Old Tucson. I think most people, they figure they're going to go on a roller coaster or something like that. And I don't think you have a lot of roller coasters out there.
No, we actually don't have any roller coasters.
Right.
I classify us, I say theme park, but really what we are is we're an entertainment park. We call ourselves now the Wild West Entertainment Park because your experience is based much more on shows and live entertainment. We have some attractions. We have a train. We have a carousel. We're putting back in the antique car ride. It's coming back in.
That was my absolute favorite.
Well,
as a little boy, that just absolutely spun my clock.
Really?
They had these little like quarter-size antique Model T looking things, even like prior to Model Ts. And you drove them around the track. You actually drove them. I mean, you hit a rail if you were off center, but it was magic to a little kid.
Well, they'll be back.
Yeah.
So
I could take my daughter. That's exciting.
Oh, yeah. Well, those are coming back. We also added recently a small miniature golf course, which, does that go with Halloween? Maybe not, but we went ahead and opened it up so that guests can start experiencing that. We put games back into the park. We've added a lot of new things.
How do you access that stuff? So if you want to do the cars and the mini golf and the other stuff, do you have stagecoaches yet?
We do have stagecoach rides. We have them during our spring operation and Christmas.
So are there periods where you just pay a general admission? And
that's what we've kind of switched the operation to. You buy a one price admission. And then if you want to play games or buy retail and food, that's an additional cost. But
Yeah.
typically all the attractions are included in your admission. So I think sometimes we hear a lot from people, oh, well, we seem like we used to pay less. Well, everything costs more these days, obviously, but we changed that model to be a one price model. So one price gets you in.
It used to be extra for all the rides.
So.
And even then it was not cheap. That's why I didn't get to go very often. My parents complained a lot. I'm talking, 70.
Sure.
So what's the season for that?
So right now we have kind of 4 different operational seasons. We operate January through May, and that's kind of our day park operation. The park is open. You can come.
You can walk in, pay your ticket, and you get the experience.
You get the full show experience, full attraction experience, and all the great food and games and all that's there. And then summer, we kind of slow down. Summer's really hot. I found this out, how hot it was.
Welcome to Southern Arizona.
And so we do a little less in summer, but we continue those tours. Every single day we have those tours still.
But that's not an open park, foods up.
No, you're still paying an admission for the tour, and you get a guided tour, a guide who will take you around the entire park and talk about the history in the movies. So, but then after summer we have Nightfall, which happens September to November, and then mid-November we're actually going to January 4th this year. Yuletide will operate from mid-November till January.
And how's that work? Because that sounds exciting with the bells and is that the whole thing?
It's an immersive experience. We take the immersive experience and then we add all the lights that you get, at Christmas time. Tons of lights everywhere, but then we still got the wagon rides, we got the shows. You get to take your photo of Santa, obviously. You get to experience and delve into the West Pole. All of our characters are within the West Pole mindset, and they're helping you along the way, and it's really more of an immersive type experience versus Nightfall, which is we're gonna scare you.
I never understood that. I want to be scared. I watch the news. I don't. I literally have never understood paying money to go be frightened. But everybody loves it.
And people love it.
Oh, they do. I mean, I'm a really tiny minority who does not care to be scared. So I don't even watch the news right now. So what are the days of the week for the Christmas thing?
So it starts off on just Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, the first few weeks, and then starting on the 19th, we're going to be daily for Yuletide.
19th of December.
Of December, sorry, yes. 19th of December, all the way through January 4th. Now the exception there is this year we're always closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so we'll be closed on those days. But we're also closed on the day after Christmas. We have a big private event for the Arizona Bowl.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So we
well,
have,
and that's good. Arizona Bowl, we want to support that.
No, it's a great experience. So.
Well, that's super. What's the name of your website? Where do people go? And I assume now in today's world they can buy tickets online, or
absolutely. It's oldtucson.com. They can buy their tickets. We introduced for the remainder of this year, we introduced what we call a fun pass. So you got unlimited admission to both Nightfall and Yuletide, so they can still buy that fun pass. But starting in December, we're going to bring back the season pass for 2025. So guests will be able to buy a single day tickets or that season pass option.
Excellent.
Well.
Yeah, excellent. Just come back more often. Bring your friends.
Yeah.
And are season passes individual or are there family options?
Individuals right now, we're exploring family pass options. So, and there'll be different levels. So if they want a few more perks, they can pay a little bit more and get that next level up. So.
Excellent. What does the future hold for Old Tucson from what you see?
Well, we have a lot of focus going into attractions and events right now.
Okay.
So attractions and public and private events. Group sales, private events, those types of events for us. But we're reinvesting in our kind of private event group area, and we're reinvesting in the attraction side. We are also exploring options for other things, like we're we're just in the exploration of a possible small campground and some other things that we can bring in.
That
Okay.
makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you could pull that off.
Yeah.
You know, a great friend of mine, Bea Blackledge, and she was involved there for a while. Another great friend, Tom Moulton, they know a lot about it. Bea always said to me the events is the heart of that business success
Yes.
in terms of just making it viable
Oh,
financially.
yeah.
So that makes sense. I mean, I'll put in a couple of comments. We were at a True West magazine event, and you had your little, I say little because there was 3 or 4 people in that big, whatever you call it.
Oh, the Grand Palace?
The Grand Palace, and you
Yeah.
did a Billy the Kid musical. And I thought that I would be hitting my head against the wall in 5 minutes because A, I don't like musicals. B, I don't like live theater. I am just a shallow, primitive character. And I loved it, and especially loved it because my 6-year-old daughter was really upset when it was over. She was 5 at the time, and it was good for everybody. It was a really, really well done. I mean, hats off to you guys. I told Al Harper that. You guys should be really proud. Because, you know, this isn't Broadway. You don't have, you know, unlimited budgets. It was a real home run. And a cousin of mine got married and did the event there. And it is just, it's a place that should be holding events. You guys should have them lined out the door. It is made for it. So, you know, good for you. Good for Mr. Harper for bringing back a Tucson icon. It's so important.
It's great.
To this area.
That Billy the Kid musical was probably the highest production that we've done, not just cost-wise, but like
right.
the detail into the story. It was all original music, all original dialogue. Everything was done by our entertainment team. They really...
Well, they should pat themselves
They
on the
did a
back.
great job,
I went
yeah.
up and told them, I said, man, I don't like live theater, especially musicals. They run right by me. And what a knockout job. And I know just enough about the history to know that they stayed on target.
Yes, that was key. That was important to us.
And that's hard to do sometimes.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, people, they think creativity trumps reality, and sometimes you can put them together, and they did.
Yeah.
So good for them.
And we had to squeeze that into a 25-minute show. That's very
Not easy.
difficult. Yeah, not easy.
And my daughter wanted it to be 40. So
yes.
think longer next time. Anyway, thank you for coming. We've gone way over. We appreciate
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Tony. We appreciate you coming in.
Yes, thank you guys.
it. OldTucson.com. Yuletide. And then
And next spring, we're going to hit the ground running right around Martin Luther King weekend. So,
Excellent.
yes.
yeah, when everybody's in town and they're going to want to go to Old Tucson. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, and thank you very much for joining us for the Cowboy Up podcast. We appreciate you. We are grateful for your recommendations, your comments, your subscriptions, and all of the things that you do to make this good program great and make it possible to go all around the world. Yes, we are the Cowboy Up podcast, and we're right next to Old Tucson. We come to you from the White Stallion Ranch, a historic of the true ranches, an historic ranch, and it's a place where you can have an adventure, maybe even discover your inner cowboy. So the holiday seasons are coming. The weather is warm and nice and pleasant in the southwest of Arizona, and a good place to say, what can we do that's different this year for our family, maybe even for our business? We love to host corporate events and make it a very special adventure, different from all of those other business retreat places. We can make all of that happen. So please check us out at whitestallion.com, whitestallion.com. If we can do anything to help you, or perhaps you'd like to make a recommendation for us, you'd like to be on the program maybe you know somebody who would be a good guest, we would love to hear from you. And by the way, please remember that the podcast industry is going by leaps and bounds, and as a result of that, we too can be able to help you maybe produce your own radio program. That's right. Maybe it's time for you to do exactly what Russell and Stephen do. I want to be on the radio and have my voice, my story on the air. well, we can help you do just that. So reach out to us at, here we go, stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. And remember, White Stallion at whitestallion.com for making your plans for a great holiday experience. All the best and blessings to you, and Dave Rickner, who performs every Saturday night at the White Stallion with one of his favorite songs, he will take us out.
Ever see a cowboy playing with his pup, just like a little boy, never quite grew up? See him risk his hide to save a dying cow, another chance at life otherwise wouldn't have. He watches that young calf grow into a steer, one day he ships it off, holding back his tears. Knew this day would come, they'd have to part, knew it would be taken, a piece of his heart. There's often a big heart behind that facade, often a soft side known only to his God. Side of a cowboy may never show, side of a cowboy you may never know. He's often criticized, keeping his own steed simply for the sake of meeting his own need. But given a choice, I'd bet my last dime that horse would stay with him every single time. 'Cause the horse somehow knows behind that callous skin is a cowboy who cares from deeply within. So she gives all she has until their trails end, knowing that this cowboy is always her best friend. There's often a big heart behind that facade, often a soft side known only to his God. Side of a cowboy may never show, side of a cowboy you may never know. He longs for the day he'll find him a bride to be there to love, end of a long ride. But one more broken heart is more than he can bear, so he lives a life alone, pretending he don't